put the gun down. Not because you fear the law, but because every breath you steal here belongs to someone, still wants to live. The man with the gun was already screaming when the night nurse stepped forward. His hands shook. The hallway lights washed his face pale. Patients cried behind closed doors. Security had frozen, and in the center of it all, she stood still, her badge swinging softly against blue scrubs. Her eyes steady, as if chaos was something she had met before and survived. No one knew her name then. No one knew her past. They only saw a black woman on the night shift, calm to the point of danger. Walking toward a man who had taken a hospital hostage, the gunman shouted again. He wanted a doctor. He wanted answers. He wanted the world to stop hurting him. He pressed the barrel harder against a trembling patient, an older man who smelled of soap and fear. The night nurse raised one hand, slow and open, like a promise. She did not raise her voice. She did not argue. She did not beg. She said only that she was here. Her name was Lena Ward, 42 years old. Night nurse for 7 years. Widow for 5. Veteran for a lifetime. She had learned long ago that fear grows loud when it feels ignored, and that silence, when used right, can cut through noise like clean steel. Lena took another step. The floor was cold through her shoes. The smell of bleach and stale coffee hung in the air. She felt the old ache in her knee, the one that never fully healed. She felt the weight of every life in that hallway pressing against her chest. Behind her, no one moved. Nurses held their breath. A young intern whispered a prayer without sound. A security guard stared at the wall. Ashamed of his shaking hands, the gunman's eyes locked on Lena. He did not see a nurse anymore. He saw something else. Something he could not name. She met his stare and stayed there. People often mistook her calm for softness. They always had. Lena grew up in a narrow house with thin walls and a mother who worked 2 jobs. She learned early how to listen, how to read silence, how to step between danger and those who could not defend themselves. When the world offered her little, she offered herself more. She joined the army at 19, not for glory, for purpose, for the chance to be useful where it mattered most. Ranger training stripped her down to bone and rebuilt her with discipline. She learned to move without sound, to think under pressure, to choose restraint when force was easier. She served 3 tours. Desert heat, mountain cold, long nights where fear tasted like metal in her mouth. She lost friends whose names she still carried like quiet prayers. She learned that bravery was not loud. It was precise. It was patient. When she came home, the world did not clap. It rarely does. She took a job as a nurse because healing felt like the other side of the same coin. Where she once learned how to stop threats, she now learned how to stop bleeding. Where she once guarded lives with a weapon, she now guarded them with hands and heart. Her husband Marcus used to wait up for her after night shifts. He would leave a mug of tea on the counter, still warm. He died in a car crash on a rainy Tuesday. The tea went cold. Life did not stop. Lena did not talk about her past. She did not wear it like armor. She folded it neatly inside herself and showed up to work. That night, the gunman was named Eric. He had lost his job. Lost his insurance? His mother lay upstairs, dying slow because care had come too late. Grief had hollowed him out, and rage had moved in. Lena saw all of that in the way his shoulders sagged between bursts of anger. She smelled sweat and fear. She heard the crack in his voice beneath the shouting. She spoke again, still soft. "You are not alone in this hallway." The words were simple. They landed heavy. Eric's grip faltered. The patient sobbed. Time stretched thin. Lena took another step, angling her body just enough to shield the patient without challenging Eric's line of sight. It was an old move, one she had practiced in darker places. She did not reach for the gun. She reached for him. "You love her," she said. "I can see it." Eric blinked. No one had said that to him all night. Rules said Lena should have backed away. Policy said she should have waited. Humanity said otherwise. Behind the scenes, police gathered. Negotiators whispered. Red dots waited in silence. But in that hallway, it was just two people standing on opposite edges of loss. Lena felt the room breathe with her. She slowed her pulse. She grounded herself in the present. Cold floor. Steady light. One man in pain. She remembered a line from training, spoken by a voice long gone. Calm is contagious. Be the calm. Eric's voice dropped. He asked if his mother was scared. Lena nodded, then shook her head. She told him she was being held by a nurse upstairs. She told him someone was brushing her hair. She told him she was not alone. It was true. Lena had checked before stepping forward. Details matter. Truth matters. Eric's eyes filled. His gun dipped. That was when someone shouted from the back. A voice sharp with fear, ordering Lena to get away. The moment cracked. Eric's grip tightened again. The barrel rose. Lena did not turn. She did not flinch. She raised her other hand. Stop, she said, still calm. Silence fell, incomplete. In that silence, something shifted. Eric saw it then, not fear, not defiance. Certainty. Lena spoke one last time. You can end this without anyone else getting hurt. I will stay with you while you do. The words carried weight because she meant them. Eric looked at the patient, at Lena. At the floor, the gun slid from his hand and hit the ground with a sound that felt like relief. Police moved in. Hands secured. Lives exhaled. Lena stepped back only after the patient was safe. Only after Eric was in custody. Only after the hallway filled with motion again, someone asked her how she stayed so calm. She shrugged. She said she had seen worse nights. Later, in a quiet room, a senior officer recognized the way she stood, the way she scanned exits without looking. He asked her where she learned that. Lena answered simply. In service, word spread fast after that. The night nurse. The hostage. The calm voice. Someone pulled records. Someone connected dots by morning. The truth was known. The black night nurse who walked toward a gun was an Army Ranger. No press conference followed. No medal ceremony. Lena went back to work the next night. Patients still needed meds. Floors still needed walking, but something had changed. Staff nodded differently. Security stood taller. A young nurse asked Lena to teach her how to stay calm. Lena said it starts with caring more about others than yourself. A quote made its way through the hospital, shared in break rooms and late-night texts. Strength does not announce itself. It shows up when needed. Another followed. The loudest power is a quiet promise kept. Eric's mother passed 2 days later. Peacefully. With a nurse holding her hand, Eric wrote a letter from jail. He thanked Lena for seeing him when he was lost. On a wall near the nurse's station, someone taped a note. No names, just words. Some heroes wear scrubs. On her next shift, Lena paused before entering the hallway. She breathed in the familiar smells. She adjusted her badge. She stepped forward because courage is not about who knows your story. It is about who lives because you are willing to stand still in the storm. If this story moved you, share where you are watching from. Tell us what silent strength means to you. And subscribe for more stories that honor the heroes who never ask to be seen.